ಸೊ ಎಲ್ಲರೂ ಇನ್ಫಾರ್ಮಲ್ ಅಟೈರಲ್ಲೇ ಇದ್ದೀವಿ. ಒಬ್ಬರೇ ಒಬ್ರು ಮಾತ್ರ ಫಾರ್ಮಲ್ ಅಟೈರಲ್ಲಿ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ. ಸೊ ಫಾರ್ಮಲ್ ಅಟೈರ್ ಇರೋರೆಲ್ಲ ಆಕಾಶದಲ್ಲಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಇನ್ಫಾರ್ಮಲ್ ಅಟೈರ್ ಇರೋರೆಲ್ಲ ಭೂಮಿ ಮೇಲಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಸರಿ, ಶುರು ಮಾಡೋಣ. ಐ ಥಿಂಕ್ ಗಣೇಶ್, ಯು ಹ್ಯಾಡ್ ಸಮ್ ಕ್ವೆಶನ್ ಎಸ್ಟರ್ಡೇ. ಯು ಸೆಡ್ ದಟ್ ಯು ಲಾಸ್ಟ್ ಟುಮಾರೋ.
Yes, brother. Yesterday, you mentioned about lower soul, higher soul, and supreme soul. Um,
Not soul.
Sorry, lower self, higher self, and supreme self. Um, uh, we also have this 13 chakras, right? Like 1 to 13. Now, this 13 chakra, is it at the higher self or at the supreme self? Is what my question was.
So I'll give you a clue. The supreme self is the center.
So 13th is the center.
Supreme self is the center. Whatever you call as the source or the ultimate or the absolute or the center, that is the supreme self. The other two selves, now that you are in the process of becoming a perceptor, I will leave it to you to work it out. Where exactly is this? So have this curiosity. Where are these two things? The lower self and the higher self. Where are they? At what point do they come? How do we know that they have come? These are the things to be kept in mind. See, there are some questions which are left unanswered to maintain the flame of curiosity. So I'm very happy that you got this question. So the answer is not answering fully is the answer. The supreme self is the center. Just remember that. So I've given you the aim. So obviously the lower self and the higher self should come somewhere in between. Now, as we read this and the complete works volume 1 and including spiritual anatomy, that's also another book that you can tap into. You will be able to grasp where exactly is this lower self, where is the higher self, as far as point system is concerned. Okay. Even yesterday in the Karana group, somebody asked some question. So I gave a similar answer. Let that be maintained. Their question was, where is the center? The simple answer to that question is center cannot be anywhere in particular. The center should be everywhere or it can
Okay.
be nowhere. So if that is the case, where is the center? So I said Babuji has mentioned where is the center in the human frame. Keep an eye on it when you read the book. You will be able to grasp it. So one perspective is that center should be everywhere. It cannot be at one particular place and time. If it is at one particular place and time, it is restricted. It cannot be unlimited, infinite. So that being the case, a simple answer would be straightforward answer is that center is everywhere. Vivekananda says, we are all the centers. We are the centers of those circles whose circumference is infinity. Does it make sense? If there is a point and we are that point, we are the center, and you draw a circle with us as the center, you have a circumference. Now, if that circumference is infinity, does it matter which point is taken as the center? Just think about it. If the circumference is taken as infinity, does it matter somebody in Chennai being taken as the center, somebody in Bangalore being taken as center, somebody in Hubli being taken as center, or even the entire earth being taken as center? Does it matter? When it is the center and the circumference is infinite, it does not matter actually. I'm not sure whether you actually grasp it or not, but this is the answer. Where is the center? The center is a variable. Everyone has become very quiet, and without muting yourself, you're all muted. So just think of this answer. Vivekananda answered this question during his stay here. It comes in the 8 volumes of complete works of Vivekananda. And this was the answer that he said. Where is the center? You are everyone is the center. Everything is the center. If you take that as the center, you draw as a circle, the circumference of which is infinite. That's the caveat. Everyone is the center, provided the circumference of the circle drawn is infinite. Now coming back to this, now that is a geometrical thing. Everyone is the center, becomes the center, provided the circumference of the consciousness expansion is infinite. Does it make sense? When you expand into the infinite consciousness, you become the center. Till that time, there are small centers. Once they do the Menti pole, you see a lot of circles, small circle, big circle, every kind of circle. But all of them are limited. Here, the circle is unlimited. The circumference is unlimited. Then it hardly matters. Any person in anywhere in that circle can be the center. Now, this applies to individuals also. This applies to the larger cosmos also. So just look at these two perspectives. It applies to both realms. Interestingly, now that you people ask the question, you know about the cosmic microwave background, CMB? Our universe, this created world, is like egg shape. I'm not talking about the Milky Way. I'm talking about the entire universe, the way it is as of now mapped. It's like egg shape. And for that, they have actually found a center. These are all scientific, what do you say, discoveries. So you keep reading what is inside or that is outside. What is outside, that is inside. So if you read that also, that is relevant for this also. If you read this also, that is relevant for that also. That's how it is. But anyway, just read about the cosmic microwave background. The what is the latest telescope that they have sent? They have sent the latest telescope, no? James Webb telescope. That is giving enormous clues into the formation of the universe in the earliest stages. Now we have got one of the pictures of the universe at the stage much earlier than what we had previously. So many of the pictures of James Webb telescope is actually changing our perspective of how the universe was born. We read in science that universe was formed in Big Bang. Now James Webb telescope, the pictures it's sending is actually questioning many of those things. Okay, we still continue to hold on to the Big Bang theory as of now, but there are a lot of questions. You can see the questions are a lot more than what it was in the past. So if you are interested in learning about the cosmos also, it will be relevant for your own journey inside also. So keep track. You remember that formula. What is there in the microcosm is there in the macrocosm. So if you study the macrocosm, you're also studying the microcosm at once. They're not two separate things. Okay. Now, yesterday in the question, the Kannada session, there was one thing about the center. And then I said, The Pinda, the Anda, and the Brahmanda. They're all one and the same. Anda, Pinda, Brahmanda. Anda is fertilized egg. What is there in a fertilized egg is there in the Pinda. Pinda is this body after growth. You allow the time for the Anda to grow, it becomes the Pinda. What is there in the Pinda? Whatever was there in the Anda is there in the Pinda. It cannot be something else. It is just that the manifestation is a lot more. That's all. Likewise, whatever is there in the Pinda is there in the Brahmanda. So, like a fertilized egg grows and expands to become this body, this consciousness in this particular body grows and expands to actually the Brahmanda. Does it make sense? Like three things. Anda, Pinda, Brahmanda. Anda is the fertilized egg, Pinda is the human body, and the Brahmanda is the cosmos. All the three contain the same thing as far as manifestation is concerned. Now the question comes, who are we? Are we the Anda? Are we the Pinda? Are we the Brahmanda? Or are we separate from all the three? This is the question to ponder about.
Can we be separate from all these three?
Definitely. Why not? Why not you be the base or the substratum on which all these three things manifest? Why not? Why can't we be that thing on which the three states of consciousness manifest? The fourth state is called as Turiya. Turiya is the base. On that, you have the state of deep sleep. On that, you have the state of dream sleep. On that, you have the state of waking. Now, what have we done? We have confused the waking state to be reality. We have forgot the other two states that we pass through every day. And we think that there is no reality in it. However, if you analyze logically, there should be some reality across all the three. That reality or that consciousness which is the substratum of all these three, which are like coverings, that is what we are. When we are in deep sleep, we feel that deep sleep is real and dream and waking state is unreal. When we are in dreams, we feel the dream is real, the deep sleep and the waking state is unreal. When we wake up, we feel that waking state is real, dream and deep sleep is unreal. Now the question comes, who is it actually that is determining this is real and this is not real in each of these states? That entity which is determining whether this is real or not real, but which is common across all these three states, is the true entity. That is the Turiya state. Does it make sense? So when we take life in isolation, that waking state is the only reality and other two things are not real, then you have missed the point totally. You have to take the entire gamut of experience that you pass through to come to a conclusion. You cannot take a part of the problem and arrive at a conclusion. If you want to solve the problem as a whole, you have to take everything into together and then you have to come to a solution. Like for example, you need to write code. You cannot take only one small functionality of the code and say that the entire code has been changed. If you want to implement the code, you have to take the entire functionality of that particular code, what is it being written for, in order that you can write a comprehensive program. You cannot take one aspect of the functioning that you expect out of the code to write a comprehensive code. It's not possible. That is why in all IT systems, there is always a tug of war between the developers and the testers. Developer says that I have done everything fine. Tester says that nothing is working. This is the tug of war in every company. The developer looks at it from the perspective of the code that they have written. The tester looks at it from the function of functionality. Is it working or not on the machine that is supposed to work? The code is always written for something to work in on a particular machine. If it's not working, however best the code may be, it's of no use. In fact, I keep saying every developer writes such a program. It is full of so many bugs. It bugs the tester all the time. Really, Gopal Krishna is a developer. I don't know what you people are playing the role. So I keep joking. The way that we look at IT is like Maya. What is the solution to Maya? What is the solution to IT? More IT. Likewise, what is the solution to Maya? More Maya. And that is what we are doing. So I'll keep pulling the leg of every department. So not to worry, not just the IT department. So Gopal Krishna has escaped just in time. Okay. Shall we
Brother, I
continue?
have one question.
ಹೇಳಪ್ಪ ನೀನು
Brother,
ಡೆವಲಪರ ಟೆಸ್ಟರ್ ಅದೇ ಹೇಳಿ ಫಸ್ಟ್
I have cyber security.
ಸೈಬರ್ ಸೆಕ್ಯೂರಿಟಿ ಆಯ್ತು ಹೇಳಿ
We were speaking about science, na? So science has many concepts. Just out of curiosity, I'm asking that science has many concepts like time travel, this black hole things, and multi-dimensional theory that we exist at uh, one time for in many dimensions. So does spirituality also support that? And
Yeah,
is that
definitely.
real?
Correct. Whatever you're not saying is correct. That we can exist at multiple dimensions at once. Then I'll explain to you the logical reason how is it possible. But in answer to your question, yes, a person can exist at multiple dimensions at once. I'll just give you a very simple example. As of now, you are a person. You are the son of somebody. You are likely to become the husband of somebody. You are the brother of somebody. You are a friend of somebody. You are a neighbor of somebody. Don't you think all at once you are all this? Do you think that you are separate each time or you are all the time one person only? But at the same time, you have this capability to be in any of these dimensions whenever necessary. So when your friend comes and interacts with you, you are like a friend to you. When your parents come and talk to you, you are like a child, a son to them. If your teacher comes and talks to you, you are like a student to them. Now, in other words, you are in all dimensions at once. You're also not in any dimension at any point of time. When you are in your basal state, neither you remember that you are a son, nor you remember that you are a student, or a friend, or a neighbor. You don't remember any of these things. You are just what you are most of the time, right? When the opportunity comes, the time space comes where you need to take on a particular role of a dimension, you actually get into that particular role. I don't know whether does it make sense. This is the closest example that you can come on a day-to-day basis. Likewise, in spirituality, you can be in different dimensions of consciousness. But remember, the center is beyond consciousness. If the center is beyond consciousness, that is like you staying in your basal state, beyond consciousness, beyond any role. You are what you are, beyond any role. Okay. Likewise, when your parents come, you become the son. When your friend comes, you become the friend. When your teacher comes, you become the student. Likewise, although you are beyond consciousness, you can come into any realm of consciousness for a particular piece of work. Does it make sense? You've gone very quiet. I can feel that quietness.
Yes. I was reading this discussing one of my senior is there, so he's also interested in scientific things. So we were discussing that Ravana at one point of time discusses about time travel. So how is it that happens in spirituality?
For that, you need to come to the end of the reading. If you take yourself as just the physical body, time travel is a difficult concept to grasp. If you take the concept of the subtle body and the causal body, it becomes much more easy to understand and grasp. Suppose, just take a very simple example as of now. You are sitting here. If I ask you to recall what happened to you in your fifth standard of the school, don't you think in 1 second your mind goes to that level? Does it not go? Then the question is, who is going there? You are sitting here, but somebody is going to that experience of the fifth standard, and who is going there and recalling that experience? Who is going there?
Maybe my higher self.
It is your mind, right? In the mind, you are able to go to that fifth standard and recreate that experience. Oh, these were the students, these were the classmates, this is how I was doing in fifth standard. All these things you can easily recreate in your mind. Now, who is then going there? It is the subtle body which is going there. Mind is nothing but the subtle body. The subtle body goes there and actually picks up all the things that is necessary. Now, if the subtle body is capable of going there back and forth, once you point to the even more subtler level, which is the causal body, it will be even be able to go even more freedom. It can travel anywhere. In fact, if you read spiritual anatomy, there is a ninth point. Daji writes about the soul replication. You heard about it, no? I mentioned it when I came to the talk in Hubli. But you
It's
were busy cutting pineapples. So here we were away cutting your soul into two. You are busy in the kitchen cutting pineapples.
soul divisibility.
The divisibility of the soul at the ninth point. What happens then? One part of the soul which stays here, the other part is born into the brighter world. In other words, although you are staying here, your entity, the spiritual entity, is now in the brighter world. You are in two dimensions at multiple level, at once. Now, if the soul can be divided into two, why not n number? It can be done, no? If the subtle body can be divided into two, why not n number? It can be divided into n number. It's like in maths, you know, algebra 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus that till n. So, what is 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4? What is the formula? Now, you tell me maths.
Mm.
ಯಾರಪ್ಪ ಮ್ಯಾಥ್ಸ್ನಲ್ಲಿ ಪಂಡಿತರಿರೋದು? 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4. If you can manually add, it comes to 10, right? But there is a formula that we use in maths. What is the formula? Using n. Forgotten, no? Totally. Gopal Krishna, you know the formula? You remember?
n plus 1 divided by 2.
See, the last digit is n. The formula is n into n plus 1 by 2. So 4 is the last digit. 4 into 4 plus 1, 5 by 2. So 2 and 4, it gets cancelled to 2. So 2 into 4, 5, 10. So if you add 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4, it will be 10. So the last digit is the n. Likewise, the last identity that you take realization will have an amalgamation of everything that is there in it. All the experiences are taken together with it. So n is the last digit. In other words, whenever you attain realization or liberation, the last life identity that you take is the n. Utilizing that n, we actually get the formula. If you take the same maths formula, if you take 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4, that is going through the world experience through bhoga. It takes a lot of time. If it is only 3, 4, it's okay, we can add it. Suppose there are 100, are you going to go on adding 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 5 till 100 or 1000? How long does it take then? So what you do, you take the last digit, add one digit to it, then divide by 2. Likewise, you take the last identity that you have taken in this life. Add 1 to it, which is what we do in the soul replication. Divide the soul into 2. You are adding 1. Then you divide it by 2. You will reach the goal immediately. I don't know again whether it made sense or not, but if you take the context in which we are talking about it, it hastens the journey. Like the formula hastens the journey. Meditation or spirituality is a formula that takes you to the center very quickly. And that going to the center becomes faster because of the divisibility of the soul. So don't think that, in fact, if that your friend is very interested in science, you have to learn the concepts of quantum physics. Quantum physics is now coming with so many of these things. All the things that we actually read in quantum physics are applicable in spiritual science. Spirituality is also a science, but it's more akin to quantum physics rather than the normal physics. That's the difference. So if you want to become well versed in spiritual science, read quantum physics. All the recent inventions that is coming with quantum physics. Okay, that will take you closer to spirituality. But our reality is beyond that. Our reality is not either in the quantum realm or in the spiritual realm. Our reality is even beyond that. What is realization was the question that was asked recently. Realization is that state where you realize the reality behind your experience. That is realization. What is the reality behind our experience? If we start digging deeper into this question, that is the fundamental question that will take you to the source. What is the reality and what is the source of reality? Where is it coming from? If you start digging deeper into this question, then all other things, the spiritual conditions, the spiritual experiences, the material experiences, all of them are nothing but a passing phase in our journey towards the reality behind the experience. So just keep this definition because that will help you. Then you will realize meditation or spirituality is a tool to go towards that reality behind the experience. Meditation and spirituality is a tool to take you to the reality behind the experience. That is what you are doing. Now, in order to utilize the tool efficiently, you need to grasp it correctly so that you can utilize it in the best way possible. And that is what you are now doing. You are going to learn how to utilize this tool. The meditation, the cleaning, the prayer, and spiritual journey per se. How to utilize these four in order to reach the reality behind the experience. That is what you are doing. Then, if you disconnect this journey towards the reality and the meditation being a tool, if you disconnect these two, then meditation seems meaningless. The reality behind the experience can be had by the best version of yourself. Now, suppose you are going to play a cricket match. Do you think that you will do well in cricket match if you are in a good form or if you are totally out of form? Bharat, ಏನ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀವಿ?
Good form.
ಗುಡ್ ಫಾರ್ಮ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಇರ್ಬೇಕಲ್ವಾ? ಅದೇ ಥರನೇ when you have to experience the reality behind the experience, you should be in the best version of yourself. If you're not in the best version of yourself, how will you ever grasp reality? So meditation helps you in getting both. It helps you in changing your version of self, to the best version of yourself. By changing your current version to the best version of yourself, it also helps you to grasp the reality behind the experience as it is, without any contamination, without any confusion. That these are the two things that meditation and spiritual journey does to us. If you do not keep this perspective in mind, that meditation is a tool for your change for the better, in order to experience the reality behind the experience, you will be lost in the maze of meditation. You might feel that you are in meditation, so you're doing something good in your life, but you are lost in the maze of meditation. ಇವತ್ತೆಲ್ರಿಗೂ ಏನೇನೆಲ್ಲ ಮಾತಾಡ್ತಿದೀವಲ್ಲ, ಎಲ್ಲ ತಲೆ ಮೇಲೆ ಹೋಗ್ತಾ ಇದೆ ಅಂತ ಅನ್ಸುತ್ತೆ. ಹಾ, ಈಗ ನಾವೊಂದು ಹೇಳ್ತೀನಿ ಕೇಳ್ರಿ. ತಲೆ ಮೇಲೆ ಹೋಗಿ ಹೋಗಿ ನನ್ನ ಕೂದಲೆಲ್ಲ ಹೊಟ್ಟೋಗಿದೆ. ಸೊ ಭರತ್ ಗಣೇಶನ್ ನಿಮ್ಮಿಬ್ರಿಗೂ ತಲೆ ಮೇಲೆ ಹೋಯ್ತು ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ ನಿಮಗೂ ಎಲ್ಲ ಕೂದಲು ಹೊರಟೋಗುತ್ತೆ. ಇನ್ ಅದರ್ ವರ್ಡ್ಸ್, ಆಸ್ ಯು ಗೋ ಹೈಯರ್ ಅಲ್ಲ, ತಲೆ ಕೂದಲು ಹೋಗೋದಿದೆಯಲ್ಲ, ಇಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಲೈಕ್ ಶೆಡಿಂಗ್ ಆಲ್ ದ ಆಸ್ಪೆಕ್ಟ್ಸ್ ಆಫ್ ದ ಮಾಯಾ. ಸೊ ಯು ಶೆಡ್ ಆಲ್ unnecessary things that you are carrying. So we just keep joking that if you have a lot of hairs, no, how will the grace descend? It is finding lot of obstruction for the grace to descend. So I was just joking to somebody. If you want the grace to descend directly, then you have to shave your head. Now, this is only when you look at it from the physical perspective. Of course, grace is such a subtle energy that it can just penetrate through anything. In fact, remember one thing, spiritual energy has no opposition to it. It penetrates everything everywhere. So pranahuti cannot be resisted. How can be pranahuti be resisted? If you are not open, if you have covered yourself with ego from all directions, then pranahuti cannot come in. But otherwise, pranahuti per se, the spiritual energy has no antidote. It can penetrate everywhere. Okay, so just keep that in mind. We can refuse to say, I don't want pranahuti. But if you don't refuse, it'll automatically come. Okay? ಸರಿ, ಇವತ್ತಿನ್ನೂ ಓದೇ ಇಲ್ಲ, ಒಂದು 2 ಪೇಜ್ ಆದರೂ ಓದೋಣ. ಅಟ್ಲೀಸ್ಟ್ ಲೆಟ್ ಅಸ್ ಲೀಡ್ 2 pages. Where were we?
Page
However,
number 48.
the self, no? The
If the term is so exactly.
Yeah. However, the term self can be deeply misleading. When we read or hear the word, it can conjure up a feeling of I-ness or individuality. Yet the yogic concept of self implies something universal. It is the common self, a self that is both impersonal and deeply personal at once. It is the heart and the soul of each and everything. The self. This is what the Upanishads talks about, the self as being the highest. When they talk about the self as being the highest, they are now talking about the supreme self, the universal self. If the term is so easily misunderstood, why use it at all? Often, I don't, said Daji, for this very reason. At the same time, it also shows us something important. It shows us that it is impossible to find a universal foundation outside of oneself. To find it, you must go within. By going to the foundation of your own existence, you discover that shared foundation, the common denominator of all existence. Thus, it is through the personal that you discover the universal. It is through the subjective that you realize the objective. So please underline this. It is through the personal that you discover the impersonal. It is through the subjective that you discover the objective. It is through physics that you discover the metaphysics. Fair enough. Physics is incomplete without studying the metaphysics. How do you know when you have encountered a self? I asked. You cannot know. He replied, to find the self is to forget yourself entirely. You cannot be conscious of having found it. If you are, then you haven't found the real self. Then it's only your ego. Real meditation begins when you are no longer aware that you are meditating. It begins when you are beyond experience. But you have been speaking so much about how we must experience the divine rather than just thinking about it or believing in it, I asked. Yes, said Daji, but truly speaking, we never experience the divine. But only the effect is there upon us. So we don't per se experience the transmission. What we experience is the changes that we undergo because of the effect of the transmission. The divine self does not act upon us, but because of it, we are transformed. Just the presence of the divine self transforms us. The self does not inspire us, but through it we become inspired. The self does not bestow anything upon us, it has nothing to give. But because of it, we receive. We must go beyond all this. To meditate for the sake of receiving anything is against etiquette. The best attitude is one of love and gratitude, which develops over time as a result of our ever deepening contact with the source within. Again, I say that yogic transmission brings this about very quickly. As a result, meditation becomes the true essence of worship. So that's why meditation is called as inner worship. The ritual is called as the outer worship. Because in meditation, it becomes, it takes you directly to the experience of the divine, which is the true essence of worship. Why are you worshipping? You are worshipping to experience the divine only. And meditation gives you the direct route to experience it. Such worship is devoid any form and show. It is devoid of any words, forms, and even ideas. Simply put, it is to melt away in this loving essence. Then the two becomes one, and even the idea of worship falls away. That is bhakti at the highest pitch, and it comes through the practice of meditation. So melting away in this essence of loving essence of the divinity is the highest form of bhakti. So this is the third stage. You remember that we read first two stages. Now this is the third stage. You will be asked describe the stages of bhakti. So don't forget this. This is the final stage. Of course, said Daji. We also find many examples of meditation practices that do not lead to bhakti. I would call that as mechanical practice. It's a technical approach having no heart but only discipline. So, as I said earlier on, all three approaches are necessary: Gyan, Bhakti, and Karma. They are the three legs of the same stool. Remove one of them and it becomes non-functional. But combine the three together, the result is greater than the sum of the parts. It is superb. Raja Yoga combines these three with the effect that we immediately are put in contact with the self. This happens in the very first meditation session. There is a very old text, Amanaska Yoga by Gorakhanatha, which describes the self as the king seated within us. Raja means king, I said. That is why this path is called as Raja Yoga, said Daji. That is why it is called as heartfulness, I said. Yes, said Daji. It is a streamlined version of Raja Yoga. Streamlined in the sense that it has been made effective for modern seekers who don't have the luxury of dropping everything and devoting every waking moment for meditation. Regarding all these approaches to yoga that you have just described, what should be our main focus? I asked. Focus on the practice, said Daji. Focus on the three elements of the heartfulness practice, the meditation, cleaning, and prayer. Practice them meticulously. Practice is the most important thing because it is through practice that everything comes. Without practice, there is no karma, bhakti, or jnana. Without practice, there is no yoga. It is the practice that leads to mastery of the yoga. Mastery of the yoga means nothing but mastery of the self. That is why master is one who has mastered themselves. So underline this. Who is a master? Master is one who has mastered themselves. As Buddha said, I have not come to make disciples, I have come here to make masters. So practice. However, he added, it is yogic transmission that makes the practice of heartfulness so transformative. Like the fabled philosopher's stone that turns every lead into gold, transmission can ultimately transform even the hardest of the heart into a sacred temple of God. Okay? Anyway, I'll stop here. Any questions? I think today no questions. You know why?